You unlock this benefit with the key of Patreon. Beyond is another dimension. A dimension of thought. A dimension of speculation. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both waffle and substance. Of things and ideas. You've just crossed into the podcast zone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trekking Through the Twilight Zone. I'm Scott Weatherly, and as always, I'm joined by Julian Darius. And Julian, welcome to the jungle.
We got fun and games.
Yes, we've got voodoo and hoodoo. Yes, we're going to be talking about the jungle, episode 12, season 3 of the Twilight Zone. We are still trekking through the Twilight Zone. This one, the story in this one is a businessman who has recently returned from Africa, but is not taken in by superstition and the use of trinkets and tokens, that sort of thing, but is stalked by, or traced down, or haunted, I think, by a witch doctor's curse, and eventually gets his comeuppance to an extent. Yes, thoughts on the jungle?
Yeah, this is not a great episode, but it's better than the last episode that we talked about. I think that the central idea here is about development and the environment, or at least kind of imperialism. And here are these white guys in suits in New York City who have are displacing an indigenous culture, and they're doing some sort of like dam project. It's sort of vague, but okay. And they don't really understand the tribe, but they know that there's this violent tribe, and they put curses on people. Okay. I'm not really so right. There's an idea here that's interesting. Its heart might be in the right place. The idea of sort of the urban jungle versus, the real jungle. I mean, there are things here that are not bad ideas, but the racism of, like, those Africans with their powerful voodoo kind of thing, is hard to escape.
Yeah. No, you're right. It is weird because there's actually a very good scene in this when he goes into like the boardroom, and they're talking about the displaced indigenous people and other stuff, and the main character actually says, like, well, the people you've got to be careful about is actually the witch doctors, and he's not really talking about the effects of magic. He's more talking about, well, look, everyone else has got superstition, they believe in it, and so they've got sway over the people, sort of thing. And then they all laugh it off, and then he starts to sort of pick out all these superstitions that these middle-aged white guys in New York have got. Like, one of them's got like a lucky rabbit's foot. One of them knocks on wood for certain things. Another one acknowledges about not walking under a ladder. Another one uses astrology. I love the fact he gets challenged on his astrology. He's like, well, it's seen me well until now, young man.
Yeah.
I love the fact he so heartily defends it. But like, it's this great thing of like how it's a scene that really does say like how we look down on other cultures' superstitions, yet we're willing to not do the same with our own sort of silliness and superstitions. Like, we've all seen people, or someone, you may even do it yourself, where you've thrown a pinch of salt over your left shoulder because you've spilt something or whatever it is, or like you won't step under a ladder. There's sort of instinctive things, and this sort of calls out that bullshit, which I think is quite funny. However, like you say, it's then loaded with this. Like, on the other hand, take with one hand, give with one hand, take with the other. It is then loaded with some really sort of bizarrely racist undertones and overtones.
Yeah. No, you're entirely right, and I love that boardroom scene too. And I really like the points that it's making. Obviously, you and I are in agreement about these things. And today we still have people say like, "Oh, well, no, astrology, that's different." That's perfectly logical. Or, well, it works for me.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. So does everything for everybody. Nobody's practicing stuff because they think it doesn't work, right? All those baseball teams, with their rituals, right?
mm-hmm.
I mean, that could be another example. The problem is that that sort of anti-superstition thing winds up being proven wrong
Yes.
because black magic really is real, and
Yeah.
that lion's tooth really did protect it.
But that's where this episode thinks it's being clever, doesn't it? It's sort of like, oh,
Mhm.
your modern world and your modern anti-superstition is all wrong, and you should be more sort of open to these things. But that's not. There's no character um, trying to counter his arguments in any sort of
Mm.
specific way. It is just this guy repeatedly going like, trinkets, they're nonsense. This is I think it's a lion's tooth, isn't it? He finds in his
Yeah.
coat or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just very sort of following the single character, and then like I say, it's just sort of like it ends. I mean, the ending's a little brutal in many ways. I mean, like he comes home because his wife is. It opens with his wife. He's found these sort of like, and I want to point out some of the things that she's got and she's saved from her time in Africa. She's saved
Yeah.
these items and it's linked with a witchcraft and sort of protection spells. One of them is a severed human finger.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, hang on. Like, the other bits, I'm like, oh, you've got some beads and there's like a chicken's claw and some of this stuff. But one of them is a severed human finger. And he's just like these trinkets and throws them in the fire. At no point is he like, did you do this?
Well, I don't think that he suspects that she's severed somebody's finger. I
Someone
think
did.
well, I think the idea is that those Africans, quote unquote,
The
have things
savages.
like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Sure. I mean, and it's racist, and that's not a white finger.
No, oh,
Okay.
no, it's not.
You
I agree.
you
Yeah.
investigate the source of a white finger. That is some tribal finger, and you brought it back with you. It's like a piece of a mummy. We burned mummies to fuel locomotives,
We ground them down and use them as
Yeah.
powder. Yeah. Well, I still want to say he throws it in the fire. At some point, someone's going to clean that apartment
Uh-huh.
and be like, I found like bones in the fireplace. Like,
These look like human finger bones.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah. That's another episode entirely. But yeah, I don't know. It just sort of basically ends, and I don't know what his wife has done. Like she's obviously associated with him, but it ends with him finding her having mauled by a lion, and a lion Mufasa is waiting for him, stood on the bed, and then it ends with him being attacked by this lion. And again, I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
that was very straightforward.
Yeah, you're right. It's when he goes around town and you hear these sounds of birds and other animals and you
Drums.
know and drums, and it seems as if a lion is kind of stalking him in the trees and
Mm.
around him, almost to the point where it could be invisible.
Mm.
That he's sort of looking around and fleeing it as if there's sort of like a force, an invisible lion or something.
That's what I was
And then,
expecting. 100%.
yeah,
That's what I was expecting.
but then he comes home, and I mean, I like that he doesn't see his wife again, and the wife said, "If you leave, you won't come home." And okay, that that's going to be correct. But he does come home.
Yeah.
So it kind of wasn't correct, but they didn't get to see each other again. She's been mauled, but then there's literally a lion sitting on his bed. The lion looks very placid because obviously it's a real lion. It's
Yeah, and there's an actress like a foot away from it. I don't think they'd sort of allow that with it if it wasn't like a placid lion. But yeah.
yeah. So yeah, okay, you got your lion shot, but it doesn't look like it just ate it covered in blood. It
Mm.
just it doesn't look like it ate a woman. But then, there are all those questions of sort of how did that lion get in there? Where is it going after it kills him? Um, a lion running around New York City is going to be seen.
Mm.
Um, even if this is some spiritual lion that's going to disappear after it murders the two of them, what about all the claw marks?
Well,
It's just mauled people. I
you've
mean,
just this has just triggered a memory in my head. This has triggered a connection. This episode, although very long, is the cold open of an X Files episode.
oh, really?
In this, oh yeah, there's at least there's not entirely, but there'll be some there's one very very similar to this, where someone is mauled by an invisible, I think it's a tiger or a lion, but someone's mauled by an invisible thing, and there's a whole thing that ends with an invisible elephant going on a rampage um, down a street. So yeah, no, but it feels like it should be like you said. Like, who's going to investigate this? Mulder and Scully are going to
Yeah,
investigate this mauled couple from a lion. Like, yeah, this is an X-File, and it feels like that. Now that I think about it,
yeah, yeah. Good point. Well, I mean, I guess that says two things. One is the investigation might be more interesting,
mm,
and could be suitably creepy, right? Or like, well, they just came back from Africa. Look. Why are there bones in the fireplace? I mean,
yeah,
that could be suitably creepy. But also it's still stupid with the invisible elephant and everything. So at least we could say, hey, this is not the best Twilight Zone episode, but Chris Carter was still making the same mistakes in the 90s.
well, or maybe he was trying to do what we're doing. He sort of watched this and was instead like, "This is an episode. This is a starting point." And
Yeah,
because I often felt that, even having not ever watched much of the Twilight Zone, but a big fan of the X Files. Um, I remember thinking that, like, in the day, like, oh, I wonder. I assume there's X Files, there's Twilight episodes would be like this, and now
mm,
that's what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, there's episodes that would have had. This episode is the starting point, and then you say, the investigation. And I'm sure there's others as well. If I was to go back and be like, oh yeah, that's what happened.
mm. Right.
Which would be quite cool actually. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Again, the one thing I would say is, as a sort of a comment on the times, let's put it that way. This obviously is filmed in the very early '60s. Um, this idea, and I wonder, because 60 years ago, have we got past a point of this stereotype of the savagery of Africa, and also the fact that we must acknowledge Africa is a continent, and Africa is made up of an awful lot of countries. I just want to clarify that. So we don't know what part of Africa he's gone to, because Egypt is a part of Africa,
Right.
as is Tunisia. So, to say Africa, you probably mean, what you're thinking is Central Africa, places like,
Right.
Zimbabwe or those kinds of places. So, yeah, do you think we've moved on from this sort of stereotyping of the savagery of Africa?
No, I
No,
don't. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
you know, and you're right to talk about the diversity. But one of the best scenes in this is when he's walking past a window of costumes, and you see a black man in a tribal
Tribal,
costume with
yeah.
the eyes moving. Um, I don't know what we were supposed to take from that, but it's effective.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I mean, Africa, first of all, there are more Muslims in Africa than there are in the Middle East.
yeah.
I mean, Africa is not that Islam is not a tribal religion, you
Mm,
know? Um, so, but I think that we still have these stereotypes. I think that we still see um Africa as I mean, it's a developing set of countries for the most part.
mm,
Um, but it's like Trump with his comment about S-hole countries,
mm.
um, take a picture of Johannesburg, and tell a white person, what continent is this on?
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that actually. I think I'm pretty sure you could probably find a video somewhere that someone's done that, like taking a picture of some of those capital cities and done that. But it goes. That's about as far as you can take this episode. It's sort of an interesting
Yeah.
comment on things, but it's a
There's a
bizarrely
there's a
weak
version
episode.
of this that's better,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's a version of this that focuses on superstition more directly or on the whole CEO context
Mm.
more directly, um, sort of Hudsucker Proxy-like or something. I don't know.
Or even like the idea
There are
of
ideas
corporate,
here.
the idea of, yeah, this focus on corporate greed
Mm,
versus sort of what you do as a colonizer. it's got a lot of ideas, but it doesn't really. It's surprisingly again linear for the
Twilight Zone.
for the Twilight and what it's dealing with. But yeah, that's my final thoughts really on this.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there we are. We have gone through the jungle and we've come out the other side. So I hope you enjoy.
Drums.
Yeah.
I hear the drums.
The drums sound effect in this as well. Just want to say this is actually the point. I believe I didn't I've checked yet, but it's so familiar. I think it's like one of those sort of sound effects that just exists in Hollywood that has just been used over and over again. Because I was like, that beat sounds very familiar, sort of like for that idea of African drums. But anyway, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed our trip through the jungle, and keep checking out our Patreon. And thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it, and we shall see you on the next episode.
Thank you.